language the great-great-grandmother? Why do they call it the great-great-grandmother? It's easy. طبعا هذا السؤال أنا ما راح أجيب لك why لأنه you're not required to support or to give short answers in the exam. But I may ask you the same questions in a form of MCQ, multiple choice question, or true-false. So you also need to answer this question. Why do we call the Proto-Indo-European language the great-great-grandmother? Mohammed Abdullah.
Because it descended from a common hypothetical ancestor.
يعني شنو محمد ما فهمتك؟
الو يعني هي شلون نقول هي تتجزأ اللغات كلها تتجزأ منها هي الأساس يعني.
Okay, تمام. So you should say that because most languages of the world have descended from this one, because the 19th century scholars or historical linguists believe that most languages of the world have descended from this language. That's why they call it the great-great-grandmother or the parent language. Yes, thank you. Thank you. Okay. Our next question is, what is the difference between diachronic linguistics and synchronic linguistics? What's the difference between diachronic linguistics and synchronic linguistics? نفس الطلاب ليش يعني؟ Okay, شمس الضحى.
Diachronic languages study the language change or language development over
اوكي شمس صوتك يقطع مو واضح. شمس اذا سمعيني اوكي ثانك يو. بس سمعنا انه diachronic linguistics studies language over time or studies the development of language over time. Okay, what about synchronic linguistics? Thank you, Shams. Saad, yes, please go ahead.
Yes, the synchronic linguistics is related to language as it is a particular point in the time.
Okay, so diachronic linguistics studies language change over time. Diachronic linguistics studies language change over time. Synchronic linguistics studies or describes language in a specific point of time. Can you explain this in relation to the game of chess?
Game of chess.
You know, to make this clear, the game of chess gives a very clear analogy. Okay, thank you, Saad. No, that's it. Who can explain this in relation to the game of chess? How can you use the game of chess as an analogy to explain the difference between diachronic linguistics and synchronic linguistics? من يستخدم لي لعبة الشطرنج حتى يفسر الاختلاف بين ال diachronic linguistics وال synchronic linguistics? How can we make use of the chess game to explain the difference? Noor Bassam. Noor? Hello?
أستاذ ما أعرف السؤال.
Okay, بس اللي أعرفه خليه يرفع ايده. Who can explain the difference between diachronic linguistics and synchronic linguistics by using the chess game analogy باستخدام تشبيه لعبة الشطرنج؟ من يفسر الفرق أو الاختلاف بين diachronic linguistics and synchronic linguistics? فاطمة أحمد.
نعم أستاذ. Dissocior suggested that language like a game chess because it is have a system in which each item is defined by its relationship with with all the others. When we see two who play the chess game, we not need to know the other movement to know the
اوكي
particular movement.
هسه بديتي تعطيني شيء مفيد. اوكي بالبدايه كان اشياء حفظ فاطمه، هسه بديتي تعطيني شيء مفيد. Yes, exactly. When there is a chess game here going on for an hour, like for example, the game has started an hour ago. We don't need to know everything happened before in this hour, during that hour, to understand the game or to describe the game. We don't need to know every single movement each player made to know the game or to describe the game. I can just describe the game by just looking at the game as it is, and I can describe it. I don't need to know how did this player kill the knight or the pawn or the king or the queen, not the king, or the bishop, and so on. I can just look at the game and know which player is better, what kind of movements will this player make, and who's better and who's going to win. I can describe everything about the game. So the synchronic study of language is to describe the language as it is now, without the need to describe the history of the language. I don't need to know anything about the history of the language in order to describe language itself. I can describe language as it is now. I can describe language in the past. I can describe language now. I take one part of language and I describe it. I don't need to talk about how this part of the language has changed from 1 to 2, from 2 to 3, from 3 to 4 over time. No, diachronic linguistics is important, but synchronic linguistics is more important. And synchronic study of language should always precede the diachronic study of language. Okay. Thank you, Fatma. Now, our next question is what? Is why did Chomsky say that Bloomfieldian linguistics is too ambitious? Why did Chomsky say that Bloomfieldian linguistics is too ambitious? Why? Why do you think Chomsky said that? Ofran Jabbar.
Because in realistic to expect to be applied to
Ofran. Can you explain this in your own words without resorting to the file? Can you explain this in your own words from your own understanding? Why did Chomsky say that Bloomfieldian linguistics is too ambitious or too dreamy or imaginary? ليش قال بلومفيلد يحلم طموح كلش? In your own words, why do you think Chomsky said that?
because the description of language from that.
يعني انا اوكي، انتوا اذا تحفظون ماكو مشكله تحفظون وتجاوبون، بس انا اريدكم انتوا فاهمين. يعني انتوا اذا فاهم الماده تقدر تجاوب عنها في اي وقت من الاوقات باي زمن تحتاجه، انت راح تقدر تجاوب. ليش تشومسكي انتقد بلومفيلد وقال بلومفيلد is too ambitious? Why Bloomfield linguistics is too ambitious? شنو اللي سوى بلومفيلد? What did Bloomfield do that Chomsky disagreed with? Okay, thank you, Ghufran. Ola Yasin?
Yes.
Yes.
Because it's impossible or unrealistic to expect someone that he can construct rules for a perfect description of a language from a mass of data.
What do you mean mass of data?
يعني
Yeah, okay. Thank you, Ola. Abbas Abdulillah?
Yes, sir. We mean by mass of data, many information, lots of information. Can we expect to know them?
What kind of information? بعدها ما واضحة عندي يا عباس. يعني شنو information؟ يا نوع من الانفورميشن. يعني هو Bloomfield. What did Bloomfield say that Chomsky strongly disagrees with?
To describe all utterances.
Yes, to describe all utterances.
All utterances, yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
utterances. By information, you mean utterances.
Yes.
Bloomfield said that okay, we need to describe all sentences,
Utterance. Yes.
all
But
sentences
that.
of the language. Ghufran and Ula. That's the point.
Yes.
Bloomfield said.
بس أستاذ هو
John,
نفس جوابه يعني هم قال
صحيح جوابك، بس انا
البيانات
سالتك على الماس اوف داتا، قصدي قلت لي شنو
إيه يعني
تقصدين
هي
بالماس؟
المعلومات والبيانات نفس الجواب يعني
اي
تقريبا.
اوكي نفس الجواب والله، والعباس نفس الجواب، بس انا تفسرين اكثر حتى انه يبين فهمش اكثر. Mass of data, we mean all utterances of the language, all spoken sentences of the language. Bloomfield said that we need to describe all sentences of the language. This is impossible.
Yes.
Like, can you make a list of all sentences of the language? You cannot make a list of all sentences of the language. How many sentences do we have in English? 1 million, 2 million, 3 million sentences, 10 millions, 100 million sentences. Is it even realistic to construct rules about every single sentence of the language? No. That's why Chomsky said that Bloomfieldian linguistics is ambitious. يعني بلومفيلد يريد يسوي قاعدة عن كل جملة باللغة، وهذا الشيء صعب. ما ممكن إنه إحنا نحصر كل جمل اللغة ونقول هاي كل الجمل اللي ممكن ينطقها الشخص باللغة الإنجليزية، وهاي قواعد كل جملة من عندها. وهذا الشيء صعب، صح شيء حلو بس شيء صعب أو شبه مستحيل. That's why he said Bluefield linguistics is too ambitious. Okay, thank you, Ala, Abbas, and Ghufran.
Thank you.
Our next question is, why is generative grammar explicit? Why is generative grammar explicit? Yusuf? Yusuf Maad? Yes, please.
So, why is generative grammar is explicit? Because
First, Yusuf, before you start,
yes,
what do we mean by explicit?
it's explicit. It means in English. Maybe I can know it in Arabic, but in English,
Yeah. Okay. What about in Arabic? What's explicit?
explicit is mean معناتها عصرية. ما أعرفها بالإنجليزي أفضل بس هو إذا
Okay.
كان
Yes. Okay. Go ahead. Can you give me the dictionary meaning of the word explicit?
explicit is could mean not too limited, maybe, or too direct.
Okay. So, okay, why is the generative grammar explicit?
The
Look,
generative grammar
explicit
is
here, the meaning in the Cambridge Dictionary is what? Is clear and exact. Clear and exact.
exactly literally. Yes.
Yeah.
So, because the rules are set literally or exactly and cannot describe a grammatical rule for a sentence that are correct in grammar, wrong, or impossible in meaning,
Yeah.
because they do not give a space to describe, financial events and consider them wrong, because they don't imagine events like imaginations. They can't describe a sentence that is basically true or right in grammar, but wrong.
Okay, Yusuf, that's fantastic. Really, that's really a perfect answer. Like, they don't depend on imagination. They depend on exact rules, precise rules, accurate rules to tell which sentence is grammatical and which sentence is ungrammatical, which sentence is possible, which one is impossible, which sentence is acceptable, which one is unacceptable, which sentence is well formed and which one is ill formed, which sentence is خلصان ماكو هي هاي. Okay, so which one is good, which one is bad? That's it. So it's exact, it's clear, it's explicit, scientific, accurate, precise. That's the meaning. It depends on rules, not on. There's no room for imagination here or ambitions. Yes, perfect, very good. Our next question is how is language resembled to a game of chess according to Ferdinand de Saussure? How is language resemble to a game of chess? Well, you can mention so many similarities between language and game of chess, but what is the basic one? What's the basic similarity between language and game of chess?
سؤال عندي سؤال
نعم سؤال.
سؤال هذا الإكسبلسيت نقدر نقول عليها perfect هم تجي
Perfect, yes, perfect, exact, clear, scientific, objective, all of these words can mean explicit.
أوكي تمام thank you.
Yes, Mariam Yusuf, our current question, what's the answer?
Yes. The language is system in which each item defined by relationship to another. His intent in the language is carefully plus structure of interwoven element. Also, the language is interested in the various small which in the teams make and how they are alleged to board. Doesn't matter whether the
Aligned.
teams
The G is not pronounced here. Yes.
yes.
Okay. Yes. Thank you, Mariam. Well, to make it simple and clear and to the point, we can say that language is like a chess game, that all items within the language are related to each other in horizontal and vertical relationships. All items are related to each other. All words are related to each other within the sentence. All sounds are related to each other within the sentence. تذكرون من أخذنا الsyllable أخذنا الonset والnucleus and the coda last year. We said the maximum number of consonants within the onset is 3, remember? هذا أعلى شيء بالonset يجي C. And when we have 3 consonants in the onset, what is the first consonant? من أقول لك أنا أعطيني كلمة بها 3 consonants in the onset، أنت راح تقول لي street, strong, sprite, spring, scream, screen إلى آخره. So the first consonant is always se. The second consonant is always pe or te or ke. The third consonant is what? Is always le or re or we or ye. What does it mean? This means that each sound has its own characteristic position. كل صوت إلى موقعه الخاص هنا. The first one must be se. The sounds, even the sounds within a word are arranged in a pattern, in a system, and each sound is related to the other sounds. Think of the chess game. اللي يعرف شلون يصفط يعني ال chess pieces على الشطرنج. We start from the rock, then the knight, then bishop, then the king, the queen, then a second bishop, a second knight, and a rock, and then the first line consists of the 8 pawns. جنود الثمانية واللي بعدها قلعة بعدين حصان بعدين ثير بعدين وزير بعدين ملك بعدين فيل ثاني وحصان ثاني وقلعة. And the rock is related to it. The knight is related to the bishop is related to the king to the queen to the second bishop to the knight, to the rock, and the rock to the pawn, this pawn to the second pawn, and this pawn to the second pawn, and each pawn is related to every single piece within the chessboard. The items are related to each other as a network, as a spider web. Like they are interwoven with each other. محاكة مثل الخيوط الحياكة. They are interwoven and interlinked with each other as a network, as an organization, as an internal structure. And this is the basic similarity between language and a game of chess. Another similarity, اختلاف ثاني هو اللي يوضح الفرق بين الدايكرونيك والسينكرونيك. مثلا شرحناه. قلنا if there is a chess game going on, we don't need to know everything happened before in order to understand the chess game. Like if the chess game is going on for an hour now, I don't need to know everything happened during this hour. I can go to the room now and understand the chess game and what's going on in the chess game now at the moment. So synchronic linguistics should proceed and is more important than diachronic linguistics. Another similarity is what? Another similarity is that it doesn't matter if the chess pieces are made of wood or ivory, glass, or chocolate or anything. What matters is the function of these chess pieces. المهم هو وظيفتها داخل الchessboard. And in addition to the other similarities that we've mentioned between linguistics and the chess game. اوكي نكمل السؤال اللي بعده. Who is the father of modern linguistics؟ هذا سؤال جوابه قصير جدا. Who is the father of modern linguistics? شمس علاء. Who is the father of modern linguistics?
The Swiss scholar Ferdinand de Saussure.
De Saussure, yes, the linguist, the Swiss linguist or scholar Ferdinand de Saussure. Yes, that's right. He's the father of modern linguistics. What's the name of his book, Shams? Do you know the name of his book, of de Saussure's book?
I think syntactic structure.
لا ذاك كتاب تشومسكي. Syntactic structures كتاب تشومسكي. وlanguage كتاب بلومفيلد. هذا كتابه شنو؟ Okay, thank you, Shams. غفران منذر. Do you know Ferdinand de Saussure's book? The name of his book?
Yes, modern language.
لا اسم كتابه شنو؟ مو modern linguist. اسم كتاب دي Saussure. Okay, thank you, غفران. هدى ستار.
Yes, sir. اسم كتاب Course in General Language.
Course in General Linguistics. Course in
Linguistics.
General
Yes.
Linguistics. Okay. يا سنة كتبه.
أستاذ طلاب كتبه مو هو.
Yes, very good.
بس ما
His
أتذكر
students
السنة.
wrote this book in 1915. 1915.
After 2 years after his death.
Yes, exactly. Very good. 2 years after his death. Okay. Next question. بس دقيقة ولا ناخذ سؤال الأخير. بس خلي أخذ صورة للحضور. Okay, نكمل السؤال اللي بعده. What are discovery procedures؟ هاي من نحكي عنها يعني نروح على بلومفيلد. Discovery procedures. What are discovery procedures? نبأ حيدر. Yes.
Yes, sir.
What are discovery procedures, نبأ?
Set of principles which would enable a linguist to discover.
To discover, which means to discover new things, new items about the language. Yes, sets of principles, tools, or procedures, or ways or methods used by a linguist to discover new features of the spoken language. يعني أدوات استخدمها حتى اكتشف صفات جديدة وخصائص جديدة عن اللغة المنطوقة. فكان يستخدمها بلومفيلد حتى يجمع أكبر قدر ممكن من الجمل حتى يصفها. لأنه Bloomfield was interested in describing all observable sentences of the language. So he was depending on other procedures.
Linguist
Yes.
units. of an unwritten language.
Unwritten means spoken. يعني أما نقول spoken أو نقول unwritten. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you, Neba. What was the title of Chomsky's book, 1957? That's easy. Chomsky's book, Yusuf, Jalil, what's the title of Chomsky's book?
Scientific structure.
No,
Syntactic structure.
syntactic.
Syntactic structure, yes.
Yeah, which year? 19?
1957?
Okay, 57.
1957.
Yeah, and that book was a very small book, but it had a very big influence
120
on the
days.
field of linguistics. It's a small book, but with a big influence. It really started a revolution on the field of linguistics because it changed the way people look at the field of linguistics. Instead of focusing on language change and language description, it's now focusing on the system that produces or generates the sentences or the utterances. Thank you, Yusuf. What did Bloomfield say about meaning? شنو قال بلومفيلد عن المينينج؟ What did Bloomfield say about meaning? نفس الأسماء يعني جاي تتكرر؟ أوكي مو مشكلة، نفس الأسماء. يس سعاد.
Yes, sir. It's saying studying of meaning wasn't a method of analysis. He considered the study of meaning as a weak point in language study, and will remain so until human knowledge advance very far beyond its present state.
Yes, exactly. So he said, okay, if I say Bloomfield was not interested in studying meaning, that's false. He was interested in meaning, and there is a chapter about meaning in his book. He said meaning is too difficult and too complicated and too sophisticated to deal with right now, and we're not ready to deal with meaning now. Maybe later on, when we are ready, when we progress more enough, and when we advance more, then we can deal with meaning. So meaning is still the weak point in language study. يقول احنا المينينج هو صعب جدا ومعقد انه نتناوله حاليا ونحلله ونفسره. ممكن انه في وقت اخر من نكون مستعدين ومتطورين علميا ونظريا اكثر ممكن احنا نبحث عن المينينج. But he didn't ignore meaning. He was interested in meaning. There is a chapter about meaning in his book. So if I say Bloomfield wasn't at all interested with meaning, that's false. Okay, he was interested, but he only said that meaning is the weak point in language. Thank you, Saad. Okay, next question. What is language change? What is language change? What is language change? Mariam Jasim.
Yes. Language change is variation over time in language future. It is studied in several subfields on linguistics.
Okay, Mariam, let me ask you this. What are the types of language change? Language change يعني تغير اللغة. The language changes in different aspects. What aspects? What are the types of language change? What kind of changes happen in the language?
History linguists.
لا يا نوع من التغييرات. شنو اللي يتغير باللغة؟
Change in grammar or
Yes. قبل الجرامر. لا ليش تفرتي على الجرامر رأسا؟ قبلها أكو بعد أصغر.
vocabulary meaning.
لا بعد قبلها المينينج آخر شيء. قبلها أول ما نحكي شنو نستخدم؟ أول ما نحكي اللغة بدايتها بشنو تبدي اللغة؟
Vowel.
In sounds.
Sounds. Yes.
So the first change in phonology and phonetics change in sounds in phonetics and phonology. اوكي بعدها الاصوات شنو تكون؟
الفاول
الاصوات اللي بنخليها مع بعض شنو تكون؟
sentence
لا قبل لا اصير جمل شنو تكون؟ كلمات.
word
Yes, words. So the study of words is morphology. So language change is language changes in phonology and also in morphology. هسه بعد من صارت كلمات، الكلمات من نحطها مع بعض شنو تصير؟
sentence
sentences. Okay, now we have syntax. هسه grammar صار عندنا. شوفي هسه وصلنا للجرامر. syntax. Okay. من صارت جملة هسه الجملة شنو صار بيها؟
have meaning
Meaning, very good. Okay, now we have semantics. So semantic change. So language changes on different levels. It changes in sounds, phonetics and phonology. It changes in words and syllables. Morphology it changes in a grammar and a structure, that's grammar or syntax, and it changes in meaning, that's semantics and pragmatics. And these are the different types of changes. Thank you, Maria. Okay. That's it. That will be all. تبقى مراجعة الفصل الأخير مع الword formation ناخذ فيه محاضرة قادمة إن شاء الله.